Why don't they let you come in the hellhole? I thought you had to die to go to hell, but hell is right here. What would your action be? Life in prison? I haven't got much life left anyway.
Bang Kwang Prison, Thailand's Bangkok Hilton of horror.
The next minute, he's just smashed it down on the fingertips of this inmate. He's going smash, smash, smash. No emotion at all.
In 1978, an Australian man named Warren Fellows arrived at a prison just outside Bangkok. Guards clamped heavy iron shackles around his ankles. He thought they'd remove them after processing. They never did. Fellows would wear those leg irons for the next 12 years. He later wrote that Bang Kwang Prison earned its nickname Big Tiger because it prowled and ate prisoners alive. But Fellows got lucky in one way. He wasn't on death row. Those inmates had their shackles permanently welded shut, carrying 5 kilograms of metal on their legs until execution day. This is Thailand's Bangkok Hilton of horror, where foreigners and locals alike.
The officer's taken me to the cell block. Got all these prisoners, and shouting, "Falang, Falang."
Discovered that justice can look a lot like death. The Bangkok Hilton. The nickname drips with bitter irony. Bang Kwang Central Prison, established by King Rama VII in 1931, sits approximately 11 kilometers north of Bangkok along the Chao Phraya River. Locals gave it another name that feels more honest, Big Tiger. As one former prisoner explained, the Thais call it that because it prowled and ate. By 2018, roughly 6,000 men lived behind its walls. Many were foreigners who made one catastrophic mistake on Thai soil. Many were on death row, waiting in cells where hope dies faster than the prisoners themselves. The facility serves as Thailand's primary execution site, handling death row inmates and those sentenced to decades behind bars. Every prisoner entering Bang Kwang wears leg irons for the first 3 months. It's meant to break you early, to teach submission before you even learn the layout of your cell. But for death row inmates, those 3 months never ended. Not until 2013. What happens when you combine brutal heat, crushing overcrowding, and a punishment system designed to strip away dignity? You'll discover the answer soon enough. Step inside a typical cell at Bang Kwang. The space holds up to 30 men, packed so tightly they sleep in rows on the concrete floor. Bodies pressed against strangers' bodies. A single narrow window provides the only ventilation and light. The semi-darkness gradually destroys their eyesight over months and years. They spend up to 22.5 hours per day in these conditions. The air hangs thick with the smell of sweat, waste, and decay. Outside, the Thai sun beats down mercilessly. Inside, men slowly cook. The food situation reveals the depth of the horror. Amnesty International reported an average of 1 death per week at Bang Kwang, often because sick inmates calling for help at night received no response from guards. The official meals consist of 1 bowl of rice and vegetables. Everything else must be purchased from the canteen. This created what prisoners called the chit system, a brutal internal hierarchy where money determined survival. Wealthier inmates hired poorer ones as servants in exchange for extra food. Those without resources turned to alternative nutrition sources. Australian drug trafficker Warren Fellows, who spent 12 years at Bang Kwang, described the reality in his book, The Damage Done. Sewer rats and cockroaches became the only nutritious food available to those who couldn't afford canteen prices. Men hunted vermin in the darkness, their desperation overriding their disgust. The contaminated drinking water spread disease through the cramped cells. Foreign prisoners eventually organized charity drives just to secure enough money for basic sustenance. Guards wielded absolute power in this environment. Some were conscientious. Others encouraged torture and collected bribes for privileges like a spot near the window or an extra blanket. The worst punishment, according to Fellows and other survivors, was the kun deo, solitary confinement Thai style. We'll return to what made that particular hell so unbearable. But none of these horrors compares to life on death row. That's where the real nightmare began. Until May 2013, death row inmates at Bang Kwang wore leg irons that were permanently welded to their ankles. The shackles weighed approximately 5 kilograms. Imagine carrying that weight with every moment, every day, for years. The metal cut into flesh, creating wounds that never properly healed in the unsanitary conditions. Infections were common. The psychological impact cut even deeper. The chains made a constant rattling sound. Other prisoners could always identify death row inmates by that specific rhythm as they shuffled down corridors. It marked them. The iron reminded them with every step that they were already dead, just waiting for the bureaucracy to catch up. They couldn't exercise properly. They couldn't run or jump or move naturally. Even simple tasks like using the toilet became degrading ordeals. The government finally removed shackles from 563 well-behaved inmates in 2013. But the practice had already damaged thousands of men over decades. The physical scars would fade. The mental ones never would. Former death row inmates described feeling phantom weight around their ankles years after release, hearing phantom chains when they walked. As of March 2018, 510 people remained on Thailand's death row nationwide. Most resided at Bang Kwang, living in those same dark cells with 29 other condemned souls. Their legs now free, but their future still sealed. The lights stay on all night on death row. Sleep becomes nearly impossible. Guards need to see everything at all times. Privacy, like hope, exists only in memory. Yet even this wasn't the worst part of the Bang Kwang experience.
And when he was telling me, I was just thinking, great, I'm in prison.
Not everyone wearing those irons was Thai. The Bangkok Hilton earned its reputation partly through the stories carried out by foreign prisoners. Their accounts spread through international media, turning Bang Kwang into a symbol of extreme punishment. Warren Fellow's 1978 conviction for heroin trafficking between Thailand and Australia resulted in a life sentence. He served 12 years before finally gaining release. His book described guards who giggled as they delivered pulverizing blows. He wrote about watching men break mentally, their personalities fragmenting under the relentless pressure. Some embraced Buddhism, seeking inner peace. Others descended into madness. Fellows remembered men who simply gave up, who stopped eating even when food was available. He watched people die slowly in cells while guards ignored the situation. The Kun Deo, that special Thai-style solitary confinement he mentioned, involved being locked in a pitch-black cell, barely large enough to stand, sometimes for weeks. No contact, no light, no hope. Men emerged from Kun Deo permanently changed, their minds shattered. Alan John Davies, a British man from Derbyshire, made history for the worst possible reason. Arrested for drug trafficking in 1990, he became the first European to receive a death sentence in Thailand. He spent years in those welded leg irons, feeling the weight of execution hanging over every moment. Unlike Fellows, Davies faced the possibility of actually dying at Bang Kwang. He endured 17 years of what he later called hell before King Bhumibol granted him amnesty in 2007. He returned to the UK, forever changed. Jonathan Wheeler, another British prisoner arrested in 1994, received a 50-year sentence. He became one of the longest-serving Western inmates in Thai prison history, spending over 18 years behind bars. These weren't hardened criminals from violent backgrounds. They were drug mules, traffickers who made terrible choices, and paid prices that exceeded reasonable punishment by any international standard. The question foreigners asked most frequently, how did they actually die? How did Thailand execute condemned prisoners? The answer reveals something deeply disturbing about systematic state violence. Walk down a corridor in Bang Kwang's execution building. There's a small red door. Condemned inmates pass through it on their final walk. Until 2002, they entered a room with a wooden cross. Guards forced them to kneel. Their hands were tied behind their back, secured to the cross. A white cloth covered their eyes. Then came the sound of a machine gun being loaded. The executioner fired from behind, aiming at the heart. Blood splattered across the walls and the floor. Since 1935, over 325 people have died this way at Bang Kwang. Most were convicted of murder, rape, or killing police officers. The psychological trauma affected everyone involved. Guards who witnessed executions, fellow inmates who heard the shots. Even the executioner himself struggled with his role. Chawaret Jarubun served as Thailand's last executioner by shooting. During his career, he personally executed 55 prisoners. He later wrote an autobiography titled The Last Executioner and co-authored A Secret History of the Bangkok Hilton. Jarubun died in 2012, carrying memories of 55 faces, 55 final moments, 55 lives ended by his hand. Even for someone trained to kill, the weight proved heavy. Thailand finally switched to lethal injection in 2002, joining most other nations that still practice capital punishment. The method changed, the finality remained. The last execution occurred in 2009. Since then, death row inmates wait in uncertainty. Will Thailand resume executions? Will sentences be commuted? Nobody knows. The psychological torture continues through that very uncertainty. Bang Kwang still operates today. Conditions have marginally improved. The permanently welded leg irons are gone. International pressure forced some reforms, but it remains a harsh maximum security facility where men serve decades in cramped cells, where the heat never relents, and where death row inmates still wait. So what do you think about the reality of Bang Kwang Prison? Share your thoughts below, and don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more gripping stories.